All right, guys, we've got something conspicuously missing off this Z900RS Cafe. Are we talking about the side covers? Are we talking about the seat? Have you guessed what it is yet? Well, if you haven't, let me just get to it. Yeah, it's the entire exhaust system. Now, this isn't going to be a how-to. It's 2 bolts in the back and 8 holding the primaries on. But what I am going to do is I'm going to walk you through some things that might make this a little bit easier for you, or just to get you ready for what to expect when you go to take this 25-pound monstrosity off of your bike. So before we get into that, what I do want to go ahead and show you guys is, yes, the O2 sensor is staying with the stock pipe because my ECU flash disables that. So I don't need it. So we're just going to go with block-offs with the new full exhaust that we're going with. And we're going to need it. So for those of you guys that don't know, this is a double wall piece. The primary is actually really, really small. Matter of fact, it's not a whole lot bigger than my thumb. So if you want to make bigger power with one of these bikes, or if you've ever wondered why there wasn't a huge power gain going with maybe just removing that bread box, which is the actual muffler portion of this thing, or decatting it, but catalytic converters are right in here. Yeah, none of that is going to restrict it nearly as much as these tiny, I'll do it again, but basically just the other side of being bigger than my thumb, just barely much bigger than my thumb primary. So little wonder why when the guys are tuning these things, they're picking up maybe 6 horsepower at the most. To get any real power out of these bikes, guys, you've got to go with at least an aftermarket set of headers, which is what we're doing to this bike. And by the way, guys, I wasn't kidding when I said that this was 25 pounds. It's actually a little bit more than that. On this scale, it's showing about 26 pounds, 27 pounds. That is a whole lot of weight that we're going to be removing. Probably end up being about 10 pounds. Not sure what the new system weighs, but I can tell you it don't weigh no 25 pounds. Or to be more exact, looks like 27 pounds. Here's another scale for you. This one's showing right at 26. Didn't think I'd be weighing an exhaust system that much, but let's get into some of the tips, tricks, and some things to consider when you get in the middle of this project. All right, before you get started, guys, what you're going to need is 10 millimeter, mainly for these guys right here. Those are at the actual can, if you will, back there, the muffler. This is right where that bread box is. 6 millimeter hex, some extensions, 12 millimeter. You might end up needing a 12 millimeter wrench just in case this nut back here decides to spin. But really, you don't need a whole lot. 12 millimeter for the header bolts, little acorn nuts, and you're going to want to have a couple of extensions to go along with your 6 millimeter, and I'll show you why here in just a second. That's that 6 millimeter hex. All right, guys, so this will make a whole lot more sense once I start diving into that exhaust that I was showing you earlier. But top tip, remove your right side rear set. These are 6 millimeter hex, which is convenient because that middle bolt that holds the bread box to the subframe, that's also a 6 millimeter. Just make sure that when you're getting ready to install your new exhaust, you don't just leave this thing hanging like that, you know, just by the tube and by just whatever lines and everything else. That's the rear brake line that this rear set is attached to. So just make sure you've got it affixed. And then once you get your new exhaust put on, obviously you'll be tightening that down. But while it's sitting waiting, go ahead and button it up just a little bit so that it doesn't dangle. But that's what I was getting at, and I'll show you here in just a second what I was talking about. And here's that 6 millimeter bolt that attaches the bread box to the bike's frame. Now, guys, I gotta tell you, trying to get in there, trying to get cute, if you get in there and try to get wobbles and this and everything else, all you'll succeed in doing is stripping this thing out. That's gonna have you have a really bad day. So that's why I was saying it takes literally 3 seconds to pop that rear set off of there. Lift it up and out of the way. You use the exact same hex that you use to get that thing off of there with an extension. Get in there, pop that sucker off, put the rear set back where you found it in the meantime, and you are done. That's the first one that you're going to take off, by the way. That's the most annoying one, so get it out of the way first, because you're going to have it out of the way when you go to take that guy off. This one's super easy. Just a 10 millimeter and a 12 millimeters, all you're gonna need, but you're gonna loosen this thing up. Don't remove it yet, just loosen it up. Basically, it's just an exercise to make sure you have all of your tools together, because next on the list is gonna be the 8 acorn nuts that hold the header to the cylinder head. Basically, just take them off. There's no, it's like hanging or taking off a shower curtain. You just take them off. But again, you're going to leave this back bolt still in place, and you're going to want to go get a jack at about this time. Yeah, Harbor Freight to the rescue. You're going to put that jack underneath the bread box. Now, you're going to get all of your header tubes unbolted, and then come back here and remove this all the way. Now, let me tell you, or maybe show you what's going to happen once that does take place. Okay, guys, if you can't tell by just the goofy shape of this thing, it is unbelievably ungainly. This thing is going to want to flop and roll all over the place. So just know that coming into it. If you've got a friend that can help you at least keep it stable, that will help when you go to lower this thing down off of the jack. If not, it's going to be like trying to wrangle a puppy. It's just going to you're going to think it's got a mind of its own. One of the main reasons for that is where this bolt goes. There you go. See what I mean? Where this bolt goes through, once it drops down off of that and is no longer captured in between these two tabs, that's when this thing's going to try to do its great escape routine. So I'm just giving you a heads up. Get ready for it, because it's going to happen. Yeah, and that's what it looks like once you've got that header off. You're just going to want to peek in here, make sure that none of those copper gaskets have been damaged, which I'd be kind of hard-pressed to figure out how you do it, but just check it out, make sure everything's good, and then get ready to install your new exhaust, which should come with its own instructions. But just in case, the torque spec, if you're looking for it, is 15-ish, like 15 to 16 foot-pounds, or right around 190 inch-pounds for those acorn nuts for the flange when you go to put that exhaust back together again. So about, like I say, around 15 to 16 foot-pounds will get you where you need to be. Doesn't have to be super tight. Don't overflex those tabs too, depending on your exhaust. And at this stage, guys, it's just follow the instructions that came with your new exhaust on how to install it. Get her fired up and enjoy them sweet burbling 4-cylinder screaming sounds. Anyway, I hope this helps you out. Post up your comments. That's a wrap. Adios.